Welcome back to Cooking Ala LaLa. We're starting this episode again at the garden because we're going to be picking some of this beautiful lettuce, and we're also going to be using some tomatoes from last year's harvest that I canned. So we're going to show you our tomato plants. We're going to do a salad, some vinaigrettes, a lovely green goddess dressing, and a wonderful dessert called a lemon posset. So simple and so delicious. Greens. We're going to pick some greens. This is a lovely crispy lettuce called Paris Island Cos. It's very crispy. It's like a romaine. Dirt flavor. Delicious. We're just going to pick a few leaves off of each of these plants. And here's a lovely, I love this one. This is going to be great for that BLT we'll be fixing in a couple of months when our tomatoes come in. And then this is a beautiful mixed mesclun mix with some different colors that's beautiful and textures. And let's come on down, get a couple more of these. And here's our beautiful spinach. Spinach is so good. It's good raw, it's good cooked. You need to be careful with the spinach because it gets really dirty. It's sitting so close to the ground that you can see you need to take extra care when you're washing your spinach. Get a few more leaves of this. And finally, look at this beautiful kale. So sturdy. We used that last week with our turnip greens and kale greens. This week I'm going to cut the rib out of here, this sturdy rib, and just chop this up and add it to our salad bowl. And it will be so delicious with our lovely vinaigrettes that we're going to make. Tomatoes, it's why we do this. It's why I do it. We have about 80 tomato plants in, and we have staked them all. And you can see, looking down these rows, we've stabilized each row with a cross beam that goes across the top. And we fasten them to the main stake with one of these plastic cords. If y'all saw episode 1, I planted the first plant of the 2020 garden. It was a tomato called the Black Vernissage. And when we put it in, it was about maybe this high. Look at it now, it's so happy. These flowers here, obviously those are going to turn into tomatoes. And this row here is all cherry tomatoes that we put in. Here's a little sucker. You can see if you can get in here. A sucker is this little sprout that comes into that corner between the main stem and this branch. Here's another sucker. I like to pinch the suckers because it's just growing more green when we want the energy to be going into the flowers and the roots that are going to produce all of our lovely tomatoes. And we've also got these drip lines down here. This one doesn't reach far enough. I'm going to have to water this one by hand. But yeah, everything looks really good. There's only one plant that we have that looks like the critters might have gotten on it. But so far, so good. Fingers crossed, it's going to be a great harvest. We're back from the garden, and we are going to make some soup and some salads, some vinaigrettes, a lot of good stuff today. But what I realize is I have been blathering on about chicken stock and chicken fat and all of these wonderful things with chicken, and we've done the beef short ribs. So I realize there are a lot of vegetarians out there. This is to you out there in vegetarian land. I'm gonna do a vegetable stock so that you can do a lot of the things that we've already done with chicken stock. And also today we're gonna do a tomato soup, and you can substitute this for the chicken stock. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in here. You could also use, if you have this in your pantry, ghee, G-H-E-E. It's clarified butter. We're gonna heat this up. A little bit of ghee, a little bit of olive oil. You can use either or both. Oh, I haven't talked about Ozark in 2 episodes of this show. We are almost at the end of season 2. It's the most amazing show. Since we saw Bethany and Eric and Alan Edwards in it. We have seen Jill Jane Clements and Tess Kincaid killing it in Ozark. If you haven't seen it, watch it. All right, I'm gonna put these chopped onions. Yeah, that's gotten some heat. And you can see I'm also putting in some of this skin. That has a lot of flavor in it. These are just the ends of onions that I've saved because this is what you save these for, is you can make a stock. And I've just chopped up, that's probably one large onion if you add all the little disparate pieces. And what I'm gonna do, here's the end of a head of garlic. I've been peeling away the big hunky pieces. I'm just gonna chop that in half. Throw those in there. Here's a lonely scallion that's been hanging out in the Ziploc bag with my radishes. So what we're gonna do, just like we did with the chicken stock, we're gonna let the fat that's in here brown up these aromatics, these onions and scallion and garlic. And we're gonna come back, we're gonna add some more vegetables and some other secret ingredients. Okay, we're back. You can see these vegetables have some beautiful brown color. It smells delicious and nutritious. Oh my goodness, what's this? It's an empty jelly jar. What are you supposed to do with an empty jelly jar? Boda. It comes right out of the spigot. So we have our beautiful browned onions and garlic, and I'm gonna put some tomato paste. I like to get the tomato paste in the tube because it keeps longer. If you get that little can, I don't know if it's like a 2-ounce can, I always use a couple of tablespoons and it just goes bad because you can't seal it back up. You can give it as much as 2 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons. This is about 2. I'm just gonna use that much. And stir it up and let that get a little color, a little heat. And then I have chopped up about 4 carrots, 4 celery stalks, and don't throw away the leaves. The leaves are good, they taste good. And when you're making your stock, they taste good when you are making your chicken salad. So let's just dump that in. I've got some thyme. I'm throwing in some fresh Italian parsley. And here's the secret ingredient. You know, everybody's always telling you to save your Parmesan rinds. I've got so many Parmesan rinds in here. I've been saving them and saving them. I'm gonna toss one of these in here because that's gonna give it some nice umami flavor. Umami is what is known as the 5th taste. Is it the 5th or the 6th? It's the 5th. It's that kind of unknown, unexplainable. Mushrooms have it, tomato paste has it, Parmesan, fish sauce. Okay, so all of these things are in here. I'm gonna throw in another one. Why the hell not? Ding. And we're gonna cover it with some water. There's a quart. Oh, and also, I haven't gotten this out yet. You wanna throw in a couple of bay leaves and some peppercorns, just like we did with the chicken stock, to give it some herbal flavor and a little bit of punch. I'm gonna give that a little bit more water. I decided to iron my apron. Our granddaughter in Jackson, Mississippi made this for us. Pop, la. I think she ought to sell them. It's gorgeous. All right, gonna put some more water in there. And again, you can do this on the stove top. Just let it simmer away for an hour at least or more. The more you cook it, the more flavor you're gonna get. I'm gonna do this for 30 minutes in here in the pressure cooker. And when we come back, we'll see this delicious vegetable stock for the vegetarians out there doing right for the world. Cheers on to the tomato soup. And what we have here to start the bacon version is I have diced and sauteed 4 to 6 pieces of bacon. Okay, this had a good bit of fat, but I took a little bit out. But we've got the bacon and just because you can, add a couple of tablespoons of butter to give it a nice kind of round, rich flavor. And this is going to melt and cook down. And I have a medium onion that I've given a rough chop. We don't have to be too concerned about how beautiful your chop and your dice and your mince is, because this is all going to go into the blender after it's cooked. So that's melted. Okay, I have to say, I have not always been a box wine swilling hussy that you know and love today. I started out as a young woman who drank bottled wine with a cork. Anyway, I'm going to put in some garlic now because that's gotten a little soft. But one of the greatest times backstage, it was 1995. I was doing, I think it was a Cheever evening at the Horizon. This is October. And the Braves had made it to the postseason. And not just the postseason, the World Series. And we were performing a show during, did it go 7 games? 6 games? Game 6. You can say the words. I'm going to put the carrots in now. So we've got our bacon with the bacon fat, the butter, carrots, onion, garlic. Anyway, the game is going on. We're backstage dying with a transistor radio, figuring out, you know, if we're going to be on stage, if and when the Braves win or off. It was so much fun. There was jubilation. People in the audience were watching it too. They had transistor radios. All right, I'm going to cook this until the carrot gets soft, and we're going to add a few more secret ingredients when we get back. All right, it's simmering away. I wish you could smell it, the bacon, the onion, the garlic. It's fantastic. I'm going to put 3 or so tablespoons of tomato paste in here just to give it a little woomph. You don't have to measure it, just eyeball it. All of these things, especially when you're making soups, it doesn't have to be exact. And what we have at the ready are some thyme, bay leaf. I've got 4 quarts of the chicken stock that we know and love. And in place of that, what are we going to put in here for the vegetarian is the vegetable stock that we're making. Okay, so that has had some time. I'm going to put some flour in here, and that's just going to help to thicken the soup. And the secret ingredient for almost every dish, maybe not your chocolate brownies, smoked paprika. You can get sweet smoked paprika or hot smoked paprika. I like both of them. That was hot. Another thing in this soup, I'll put it on the recipe card. If you look at the recipe cards, you'll see a lot of things optional, like red pepper flakes. I'm going to go ahead and throw some in just because it's not actually in the recipe, but I'll put it in there. Okay, so we've gotten some color on here. The flour has been stirred in and had a little time to cook. Let's throw in our bay leaf, our thyme sprigs, and here comes the holy of holies, the chicken stock. And the tomatoes we're using for this are tomatoes that we grew in our garden last year, and I canned them. This, I'll show you. It's a quart. It takes about 8 big tomatoes to make a quart of canned tomatoes. It's really amazing how much it takes. And I'm going to show you, if my show isn't canceled, how to do the canning. We've got our tomatoes in. We've got about 80 tomato plants in. And we'll probably have tomatoes in July. But now look at this. This is just beautiful. So all of this is going to cook. The flavors are going to marry. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you chop things up. They're all going to go in the blender. So we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to put it in the blender and we'll have soup. The soup has cooked for about 30 minutes. The tomatoes, the onions, the carrots, the garlic, the bay, the thyme, the chicken stock, and almost, most importantly, the bacon. And you are going to puree it until the end of time. You can't puree it too much. You want it to be very velvety and delicious. The soup has been pureed within an inch of its orange life. Come look at this color. I'm gonna give this a taste. Threw the bay leaf in, that gets pureed. Need some salt. Wow, that's so good. It definitely needs some salt because there really isn't any salt in here. And let's give it some pepper. And we'll adjust these seasonings. But it's just so velvety and smooth. We're also going to make some croutons. I've melted a couple of tablespoons of butter in this cute little, look at this little cast iron skillet I got at Lakewood 100 years ago. And I have pulled out a half a loaf of bread and chopped it into little pieces. We're gonna make these croutons both for the soup and for the salads that we're gonna have. I'm melting this, and I have a little cookie sheet here. And I'm just going to put the bread cubes on here. And I'm going to drizzle this. I hope that's enough. I'm going to put it all on this side so that I can make sure everything gets covered with this delicious. Swoosh this around. Get everything covered. And you can throw some thyme leaves or chives on here, but you definitely want to get some of this fat on here. That'll make these croutons crisp up. And we're going to put the croutons, we're going to enjoy them on top of our soup with some chives. And then we'll enjoy them with our salads, our chopped salads. All right, I'm going to put these in, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the vegetable stock. The vegetable stock is ready. Ooh, don't let it steam you up. All right, so we've got a strainer over our, it smells really good. Look, there's that little old clove of garlic. And what we're gonna do is get all of these vegetables here and mash against the solids, because that'll press out a bunch of this good flavor. The recipes will be on the Horizon website for both soups. I'm not gonna walk you through watching me make the vegetarian version of this. You'll just substitute this vegetable broth for the chicken stock that we put in, that you've seen the video of. But we will make it exactly the same way. We'll use the same delicious croutons to top it off. If you do dairy, you can add a little heavy cream or butter in to finish it. But I just wanted to show you, look at this beautiful, beautiful, wholesome, healthy vegetable broth. Now it's time to clean up these greens. What I like to do is fill up a big prep bowl like this with cold water. Dump it all into here, put it in a towel, is just do this. And that shakes all the, or a lot of the liquid off. I'm gonna switch it to a different towel, a drier towel, your salad. And then I just put it back into the Ziploc bag and into the fridge, and so it's ready to go when you're ready to make your salad. We're gonna do some vinaigrettes, easy, simple vinaigrettes. There are many ways to do this. You can start with just 2 ingredients, oil and vinegar. Generally, the ratio is supposed to be 1 part vinegar to 3 part oil. You might like it a little more vinegary. I do. I usually like a 2-to-1 ratio, but I think if you're going to do just the oil and vinegar, pick an oil that you like and that you can taste. And what is a great idea is to find one of these places. I don't know how they're still in business, but they just sell olive oil, and you can go in and taste a little olive oil and see, ooh, I like that one, that's peppery, or this is grassy. And it's not that expensive. I think this bottle cost 15 bucks. And I don't use this to saute in. I use it for dipping and dressings. But I would start with a vinegar of my liking. I don't usually measure, but just to show you, there is, and I'm just going to make a tiny amount for the purpose of this, okay? So there is a tablespoon of vinegar. And I'm going to measure this in my head. I'm going to do a couple of tablespoons of this yummy olive oil and whisk, 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 whisk. You want to emulsify the oil into the vinegar. And this is just the most simple, most basic of the vinaigrettes. You could use any kind of vinegar you want. You could use a combination of red wine vinegar and balsamic vinegar, which will have a completely different flavor profile. And then what you have here is just a very simple, you can see it's thickened up with that olive oil. We'll put a little salt and pepper so that it's not these huge. So there you go. How long did that take? I mean, I was blabbing on the whole time, so it really doesn't take a minute, and it's so much better than that 7 C's or Landa, whatever those dressings are you buy in a bottle. So that is vinaigrette number 1. Basic vinaigrette, but I feel like adding a little Dijon, which is a great way to thicken, make it a little bit creamier and give it a different profile. And it's just as simple as whisking a little Dijon. This is just another very simple, you added 1 ingredient, it's a 3-ingredient vinaigrette. Okay, so the next one we're gonna do is whole hog green goddess dressing. Okay, here we go. Green goddess dressing. Supposedly this dressing was invented by a chef in San Francisco in 1923 to honor the actor Ron Arliss, who was starring in a play called The Green Goddess. That sounds like a title Lisa ought to look into for me. Just kidding, Lisa. Okay, so the Green Goddess, I'm gonna blanch this watercress right here. I'm saying, what is it, a cup of watercress, and it's just beautiful. This gives it a little sharp, peppery bite. And it also gives it the beautiful green color. So I'm just going to put it in this cold water here so that it stops cooking and it keeps its color. And I'm going to turn this water off. Good grief. Okay, so there is one of our ingredients. I'm going to let this cool off before I handle it. Meanwhile, we have a half a cup of buttermilk. Everybody turns up their nose at buttermilk as they do box wine, but don't knock it until you try it, people. I'm telling you. If you're just too grossed out by buttermilk, God bless you. You could also use sour cream or yogurt. And here's a half a cup of mayonnaise, any brand you like. I'm a Hellmann's gal myself. A lot of people down here in the Southland like that Duke's, but I'm not that fond of Duke's. Okay, so I'm just gonna wring all the water out of this. See how it melts down? You get all the pieces. You don't want to waste anything, people. And I might go ahead and give this a rough chop because I've got the cutting board here. So here is, we've got a half a cup of buttermilk, half a cup of mayonnaise. I've got about 2 tablespoons of chives, tablespoon of chopped tarragon, about a 1/4 cup of scallion, Here's some parsley. I'll give that a rough chop. And what makes this, I think, so good is the taragon. You don't really see taragon a whole lot. I don't think so. And also what makes it is the anchovy paste. Okay, I have put a tablespoon of anchovy paste. You can use real anchovies and just mash them into a paste on a cutting board with your knife. You can cut the anchovies if you think your mother doesn't like them. A tablespoon about of tarragon vinegar. If you don't have tarragon vinegar, just use white wine vinegar or something. Don't go out and buy a bottle of tarragon vinegar if that's the only way you're going to be using it. Okay, so I'm going to put a little salt. More than a little. Little pepper. And I'm going to puree this until an inch of its life. Look at it. Is that gorgeous? Look at that color. Huh. I just can't even describe. It's the tarragon and the anchovy that bring this into a flavor realm that you don't meet often, but it is so delicious just on a simple salad of greens or drizzled over your thickly sliced garden tomatoes. I want to also show you the croutons that we made. You can hear how crunchy they are. Look at what he can do. Roscoe, come on, I'm going to give you a treat. Our pet can eat with chopsticks. Come on, Bella, Bella. Sit, please. Watch him eat with chopsticks. He's so civilized. That's how to make a crouton. Chopped salad. Okay, chopped salad is basically, in my book, it's a pretty good book, just the kitchen sink salad. I like to pull everything out of the fridge. Jalapeno, watercress, raw cauliflower, and broccoli. Artichoke hearts, that was in the pantry. Tomato, turnip from the garden. Throw it all together, and this will be a wonderful, light, spring, summer way to feed yourself at lunch or dinner, and you can't beat it. Okay, here we have the makings of the most delicious, fresh, chopped salad. Lettuces from the garden, watercress from a bag at the grocery store. I have some dill. I'm just gonna chop this up. So there's some beautiful dill. And I have made a little matchsticks of carrots. How pretty is that? I've used the vegetable peeler to go down this cucumber, so that has some visual interest. And we'll just give this a rough chop. You see we have some celery here, and I picked the pieces of celery that still had some of those pretty green leaves. It is such a mistake to get rid of the celery leaves. They have so much flavor. Here's some radish from the garden that we've chopped up in little pieces. A little bit of that yummy, beautiful, I kind of wish I'd gotten a yellow pepper because the orange is kind of looks like the carrot. Turnip, nice little crunch, peppery crunch. Chopped up some of these broccoli and cauliflower, raw, it's okay. And we must have some tomatoes. These aren't from the garden yet, but it's only a matter of time. And must have onion, a little bit of green onion. And I have a heel of blue cheese that I think would be lovely on this. You might not like blue cheese. You could use no cheese or Parmesan or cheddar. But if you want to have a little fatty fat, use some pepitas, toss those in there. You can put anything. If you don't have any dressing, squeeze it with some some lemon, and then give it a little olive oil, toss it with some salt and pepper, and it's golden. If you like meat and you have some shredded chicken, throw that in there. Or if you have the end of a package of bacon that needs to be cooked, crumble that up after you cook it and throw it in there. So this is chopped salad, any way you like. Use up everything in your refrigerator. Dress it, serve it, and you'll be so thin and happy for the rest of your days. This will be the first dessert on Cooking Ala LaLa. I'm not a big baker, I'm not a big dessert maker, but my mother introduced me to this wonderful confection called a posset, P-O-S-S-E-T. It's an English, it was an old English drink. In the Middle Ages, they would mix wine or ale or liquor with curdled milk and throw some spices in there, and it would make you feel better if you were sick, or it would help you fall asleep. But now, posset has become this divine dessert that only requires 3 ingredients. Heavy cream, don't try it with milk. Sugar, don't try it with stevia. And lemon juice and lemon zest. So lemon is 1 ingredient, so the juice and the zest come from the same thing. So 3 ingredients, it's pretty amazing. So what we're gonna do, we have 2 1/4 cups of milk. I mean, heavy cream, no milk, heavy cream. And we're going to add 3/4 cup of sugar to this. And I'm gonna stir this until the sugar melts. Okay, you see it is coming to a simmer and a boil. This is where you need to watch it very carefully because you don't want it to boil over. This is not one of these things where you can go check your Facebook page and see how many likes you've gotten about something. It's really important to keep an eye on it, and I'm gonna set my timer here. Tell me if it starts to go crazy. For 3 minutes. And this is really important because this is where I'm gonna lower the heat. This is where we get a lot of the water evaporated out of the cream. And that's gonna help it set up into this beautiful custard-like. I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit more. But I wanted you to see this boil and how important it is not to let it get out of control. We've just had our 3 minutes. I've taken it off the heat because it almost came to the very brink of boiling over because I did not mind my own orders. It's actually reduced a little bit, so a lot of the water in this heavy cream has evaporated, and now you're gonna pour in your 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. You can use a combination of lemon or lime or grapefruit or orange or tangerine. I like the lemon, and the lemons that I had gotten at the grocery store were so big and fruity and juicy. And I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. And we're just gonna make sure that's all stirred in. And we're gonna let this sit off the heat for 10 minutes. I'm gonna put the timer on 10 minutes. And I was telling you, you can use these, typically you put them in a little ramekin, or if you have something fancy, we have these beautiful crystal, I don't know, what cup would this, what was the purpose of this? This was Tom's mother. It's beautiful, heavy crystal. You could put them in something like this, or if you wanted to just have a tiny little taste of it to go around, do it in sort of a demi-tasse. It has rested for 10 minutes, and you can see how nice and thick it is. I like to go ahead and put it into our ramekins like this. You could also, if you wanted it to be just completely, purely silky, strain it. I like to have the zest in there. It adds the tiniest bit of texture, and it keeps the tartness up front. So, just for the fun of it, I'm gonna try putting it in some of these things. This will be harder to put this in the refrigerator that is already filled with my objects and of hoarding. But let's see if I can. Okay, so I'm gonna put these, I'm gonna cover this just with some wax paper and put them in the refrigerator for 4 hours. And when they come out, it will be like a flan. It will have set, and it will be delicious. And it's a 3-ingredient dessert you can make in half an hour the day before your dinner party. Remember those? The posset has set. Look. Huh? How about that? No eggs, no cornstarch, no gelatin, heavy cream, lemon, and sugar. It's amazing. Okay, our mystery guest taster should be arriving shortly. And I'm just gonna decorate this. That's not so bad. I don't know, we could do better. Let's put this in here, the shark fin of desserts. Okay, I'm gonna top it with a little of this lemon zest and sugar mixture, just to give it a little papa, that's how it goes. Papa, everyone knows. All right, we're gonna take it out with a very special mystery guest dome. I wonder who it's gonna be. I bet it'll be somebody very special. Okay, our guest taster is here. I'm so excited. Uh-oh. Wow, our guest taster. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Reginald Moribund, and I'm the official taster for Her Majesty, Queen of all Scotland, Lady Macbeth.
You ready to try some posset?
Yes, I am. Yeah, sneeze.
Oh.
Wait, I've got a sneeze coming.
Is it passed?
Okay, it's passed. Wait, no.
Jesus.
Okay, all right then.
Are you certain?
Certain, yes, of course.
The posset.
Oh, goodness. That is lovely. Can't wait to try. Well, let me just dig right in.
Yes, do. Help yourself.
A little spoonful of deliciousness.
Oh, he likes it. Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus. Honey, call 911. This is
no,
bad.
Wait.
No, wait.
Oh.
Wait, I'm all right. False alarm.
Oh.
This posset is so good. I had a little case of the papers at it. Now let me go at it again. See if my first reaction was the real one. Heavenly.
He lives.
He
lives.
It's like a plant, but with a soupçon of citrus. Yes. Lemon. Oh my God, and the blueberry in the middle. I will say my final word is fit for a queen.
For more information and to download all the recipes that you've seen on this episode of Cooking Ala LaLa, please visit horizontheater.com.
For this week's winner, the lucky winner of the 2 quarts of homegrown and home-canned tomatoes, our winner this week, a lover of the theater, Terry Molaski. She's also a neighbor, which is why I rode my bike over here. Terry, thank you so much for supporting the Horizon for 20 years plus. And your dog is great. Terry's daughter, Leah, was in Madeline's Christmas several years ago, so she's got a lot in the game with the Horizon and the history.
I'm happy.
And yeah, we live around the corner from each other. What a coincidence that the name that was drawn this week was my neighbor and friend, Terry.
I'm not good with this stuff, so I'm excited that
well, if you want to know what to do with it, I'll send you some recipes.
Yes.
But thank you. And thank all of y'all who watched Cooking Ala LaLa. We might be doing a little more, little episode 2 come fall, so stay tuned.